Tom Hanley. I am a Solutions Architect Manager here at AWS, and I'm joined by two Senior Solution Architects here, Jeff Marushak to my left, and Wayne Giles to my right. And we're here talking about amplifying success, the value proposition of an AWS partnership. Now, I'd like these two gentlemen to introduce themselves, but before I do that, I do want to clarify something. When we say AWS partnership, there is this construct of an AWS partner and the AWS Partner Network, or APN. While both of those are vital parts to the AWS solution and offer customers a lot of value, that's not what we're talking about in this specific discussion. What we're talking about is the relationship between AWS and that direct relationship to the customer themselves. Jeff, would you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Jeff Marushak. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect, as Tom mentioned, but I am on our DoD Air Force team, and I've been with AWS for 3 years. And thankfully, I've been with the same customer the entire tenure of being at AWS. So have been able to establish some of that relationship with my customer over 3 years. I'm sure we'll talk about more.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And then Wayne.
Yeah, so Wayne Giles. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect focusing on the educational technology market. I work with several technology companies in that space. Have been with AWS just this year, but involved in AWS from the partner side and as a customer of AWS since 2015. So seen many angles.
Yes. Now, at our core here at Amazon and AWS are 16 leadership principles that guide our actions. And I think a lot of us would probably say the root of that and the center is customer obsession, right? We're renowned for it. So with that in mind, given the fact that customer obsession is so core to how we act, Wayne, could you help to kind of describe how advise and build factor into customer innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the AWS overall approach of how we help customers succeed and meet their goals, we do have this innovate and grow section. The advise side is about the front end planning of solving a need, of finding the right pattern, the right strategy of how you can do something, about being able to take all of the knowledge that has been gained from AWS's exposure across other customers in the same industry or maybe other industries and bring those to our customers in a meaningful way that they can maximize on. And then build is as that moves into the next phase of now building that next solution, refactoring that application. What are the tactical and technical solutions and questions that customers have to deal with on an ongoing basis as they go through the process?
Excellent. And then Jeff, I know you've got experience with your customers helping them grow. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so initially when you think of grow, I would first start off with there's a lot of training and education opportunities that the solutions architect will help identify and sometimes even lead. And there can be both dedicated training with, where maybe the solutions architect would be involved with setting it up with actual trainers, but then there can be less formal trainings that are more geared specifically toward a direct opportunity where we know the customer has this project, a serverless project. We can bring in some specific serverless training that's not like you're not going to get a certificate or anything, but maybe we can just targeted trainings and lab hands-on experiences. So that way we can help grow the customers, the folks, the customer, the resources. But then I also like to talk about how we talk a lot about the flywheel effect, how helping the customer be more agile and elastic, we can then use some of those resources we've helped them save to grow into other areas and show how that elasticity can help a customer really experiment more quickly and cheaply than they have in the past 10, 15 years. And so we help foster that as well.
Building onto that, right, I think grow even builds stronger in the fact that there are many AWS services that because customers starting to engage and push the edges of it, they have grown and they have caused the service itself to grow and sometimes boost new services and more expansive offerings for what they can work with.
Yeah, and we're going to talk later about that bi-directional flow of information that is mutually beneficial to both AWS and its customers. And so many of the products and features and services that we introduce are inspired or directly related to customer requests.
Yep.
So, I think that naturally begs the question as to the composition of an account team. Wayne, can you kind of describe how a solutions architect and an account manager kind of divide and conquer in order to be able to achieve the needs of our customers?
Absolutely. I will say, as we talk about account team makeup, what we're putting here is the big full picture of what a very large customer would have for an account team, like Air Force or someone like that. But this is not exclusive to only large customers. While maybe a smaller customer may not have all of these named positions, they do have access to these types of services in one way or another. So the account team starts on the account manager and solutions architect pairing. And you can think about that as kind of a division between the technical pieces of the services that are offered, and then the complexities, the business and industry nuances that exist in every piece. The account manager owns the relationship and drives that top level business communication, kind of what the relationship between Amazon as an organization and the customer is as an organization, they run that side of it. And then the solutions architect is focused on ensuring the customer can achieve their growth goals and objectives through the AWS services in the most effective way possible. And effective doesn't always match to the most expensive or the newest. It's just what aligns to that customer and they need today. You have other roles like a TAM or a CSM that start getting more specialized. TAMs are phenomenal for companies that have enterprise support, because they start becoming the center point of managing all of those services that revolve around enterprise support.
Yeah, and I think it's an excellent point. Now, Jeff, do you have some experience with technical account managers or TAMs in terms of helping with operational efficiency?
One of my, so the Air Force is large. In fact, we have, like I said, a whole team of SAs and account managers for the Air Force. And one of the sections of the Air Force does have enterprise support, and we work with their TAM all the time. And sometimes the line is a little blurry between a TAM and an SA, and that's a good thing.
Right.
And in fact, you like to foster that relationship, because the TAM and the SA can really get along and share a lot of the responsibilities and make each other's lives easier. So that's been a really good experience on my side.
I think a great example in my experience of like a really healthy customer relationship is when that transparency is there, and you'll be on the same call and I will be saying something, and one of the TAMs will be like, Wayne, no, that's not how this happened. It happened this way. And you're like, oh yeah, because that conversation is open and transparent.
Yeah, and I've got 30 plus years experience in the industry. I've worked for 7 different companies in 7 different industries, and I've got to say that I've always been impressed by just what I would call, to use a military analogy, a small army of folks that are behind the scenes at AWS, really enabling our customers with not a shared responsibility, as in shared responsibility model of security, but more a shared outcome, a desire to really see and foster growth. So let's talk about the various elements within AWS to supercharge that success. So here I've got broken down the innovate and the growth side. And so let's use a similar approach that we did last time. Wayne, can you speak to some of those functions inside of AWS that help with innovation?
Yeah, so this is where AWS currently has over 200 services that they offer, and they spread the gamut of different solutions to different technical problems. No one individual is an expert in all of them. The SA you're dealing with does not know all 200 services at a deep level. Right, exactly. So the SA's role and their ability to help an organization innovate comes from being able to curate that content, to being able to hear the customer's need, parse it into its core chunks, and then go reach out to those deep level experts that exist throughout Amazon. And sometimes those experts are in a specific product team. Sometimes those experts are at another customer, Amazon employees with another customer, or they are in an industry vertical.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you bring up, where there's a lot of cross-pollination that occurs, but there's also some strict rules that govern some of that communication. And so we're always under NDA with our customers. Any kind of things that we relate are always abstracted. We never give up any of our customers' secret sauce, certainly. But it shows where we have the knowledge and the understanding of various industries, everything from defense over to ed tech, and can really bring that to bear for our customers, large and small, in a broader conversation. Jeff, if you could speak a bit about the grow elements here, right? You got things like you've already talked about, training and education.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, we see co-marketing and co-selling.
Yes.
Also, we have those relationships with the partners that we talked about earlier. So a lot of times, I make this analogy. We all know popular tool vendors that maybe go from tool site to tool site selling awesome tools. And sometimes I say, hey, we are that. Like, we want you to use this socket wrench. But, you know, I've never really built, or I've never really dropped a transmission and replaced it, but I have the tools that help you do that exactly.
Right.
But you know what, maybe we do know the people that can use our tools to replace that transmission. And that goes with co-marketing and co-selling. We know someone who's using AWS services for a really good IPAM service, or for a good load balancing, or firewall like Palo Alto or something. I don't want to name drop, but we can hear the customer's needs and requirements and say, hey, we have a partner that does just that for you. And let's connect the dots here, because we've already worked with them before or something like that.
We've also, in the space I'm in, you know, we have opportunities with customers where they have some piece of IP they've built that they've worked with their customers, and we sit down and have a conversation with them, and we're like, that should exist on Marketplace, you know? And we bring them into becoming an AWS partner so they can facilitate easier transactions with their own customers.
Yeah, and I also like, under the slide here for Grow, we've got Pan Amazon thinking big. So we're a big company, right? And with various elements to the larger, broader Amazon corporate. The beauty of that is I can give a Kinesis immersion day to one of our customers and draw someone from Amazon Robotics, true story, to speak about the practical use of Kinesis within robotics. How many companies can do something like that and actually draw on that talent without any fear of having to step on any toes with other customers, right? So I think it's amazing the degree to which we can really broaden the conversation and bring a lot of thoughts to bear. You gave a great analogy a moment ago. I want to give an analogy, if I may here, about how I think cloud, especially the AWS cloud, is differentiated from days of old, right? I've got gray hair to attest, kind of knowing the old vendor model. It's the difference between buying a car, let's say 10 years ago, and keeping the car for 10 years. I have experience with this. That car, 10 years later, a bit worse for the wear, right? A few more miles on it, maybe some bald tires, but it's functionally the same car it was on day one. Hasn't really grown or evolved. The AWS cloud is like buying an electric car today and getting over-the-air updates daily, weekly, whatever the time period is. That car is functionally different, for the better, 3 to 6 months down the road. And for me to drive it and treat it the same way as I did on day one would be foolhardy.
Well, you have to extend that analogy a little bit to say, and also at any moment in time, you can decide whether that car is a subcompact or like a 2-ton pickup, right? Depending on what you decide to launch.
Yeah, great point, great point.
Yeah. So let's delve into some of that back and forth, and really the meat of this conversation about how to go from a vendor kind of mindset over to a partner mindset.
Right, so when we started talking about this conversation, you know, it is you and I, we work kind of in the same space, and we've seen a lot of customers, you know, and there are ones that get a lot of value out of their relationship with AWS, and there are ones that get less value with their relationship with AWS. And one of the commonalities is how healthy the relationship is between the account team and that customer. And as talking about that, that's where kind of you and I worked on and came up with this model.
Yes.
It's loaded. I will let you ask your questions. I'm jumping ahead of you.
No. Brilliant. And I appreciate, as there's a lag here in the slide, helping to make up some of the dead space here. So let's talk about that, what the value is offered by the account team to the customer, because that's probably going to be of most interest to folks.
The account team to the customer. So as we said, AWS is a very large organization, and there is a lot of people and resources that can be leveraged, and AWS wants to leverage and bring into every customer. from a customer's point of view and talking to your account team, that looks like one of these 3 clouds, which is you have expert advice. Obviously, an SA's there, they've seen a lot of stuff, they have access to people who have touched and built things, and they can bring that advice in. The next one is curation of the content. Last year we were 3,000 plus feature releases or services.
Yes.
I mean, let's say you're using 10% of what we have. That's something new every day.
Yeah.
If you don't leverage your account team to help you curate that content, to pay attention to what matters, you're just leaving value there that is provided to you. And last is access into AWS. We want to get engaged. The product teams, I mean, I'm sure even on your side, the product teams want to go talk to customers. They want to get engaged. And it's really the account team's job to get the right team engaged with the customer at the right time. And so our ability to coordinate, when is this project coming? What are the technologies you're touching on? So that we can have that Kinesis team, or maybe somebody deep in network, come in and engage with the right people in your organization to have that conversation when you need it, not 2 months ahead of time or once you've already solved that problem, but when it's needed.
Yeah, and I'm always impressed, I don't know if you found this to be the case, I imagine you have, Jeff, at the level of relatability and access, not only that we have internally with all these 2 pizza teams, right? Big company, but very nimble because of the 2 pizza teams, but the level to which I'm able to reach out and get that level of access with the service team and facilitate that level of access between my customers and the service team. Do you have some practical experience with that?
I do a lot of work. The military is really, especially the DoD, really excited about edge computing. So we do a lot of Snowball demos. And the Snowball, the Snowball service team is always very excited to see and hear about some new use cases. And so to build on what you were just saying, I enjoy how, I'm using Snowball as an example, but whenever I reach out to the service team, it's not like, oh, here's this field guy and we'll get to you when you can. It's, oh, this is exciting. Tell us this new use case that you hear for our customers. Yeah. And because we want to help you help the customer. So it's refreshing.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed. It's refreshing.
And that tees up the other side of the conversation really well, which is, we, AWS, being customer driven, we need input from the customer.
Yes.
Our product teams need to know what features are landing, what's working. We need to understand, I mean, especially somebody the size of Air Force, some idea of the big projects and when they're coming, because somewhere down the lane, there has to be a piece of metal in a data center somewhere processing this, and if we don't have good visibility, we can run short. I'm sure in an edge case, that's even more critical.
That and HPC.
Oh, sure.
So large HPC workloads and the special GovCloud regions that are smaller than the other regions. Yes, exactly that.
I love that point, right? Because I think a lot of people would think, hey, in a sales environment with an account team, it's all about revenue.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's a much more symbiotic relationship than that. And also we talk about that feedback on the services also having a real material impact on the direction of the services. Can we talk about market insights? What role does market insights play to help inform us internally when we get that from the customer?
I think that is what drives a great deal of AWS's future features and service direction. There is a lot of effort put inside the organization in collecting insights from the field, understanding what customers are looking at, and those are correlated at every level, especially on the SA organization, to really get an idea of where the market's going, because it takes time to build all of these services, to add features, and to flush out a roadmap. And so that information is constantly wanted and drives forward direction for Amazon.
Yeah, and I think the glue that holds all this together, that causes that cross-pollination, is this partnership, engagement, transparency that creates this culture of collaboration that I like to think of it as.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you spelled out the account team and the customer and the collaboration. It's key.
And I think, even just the two of you up here on stage representing 2 parts of the solutions architecture organization help to demonstrate the degree to which we collaborate well, I think, internally. And that collaboration internally allows for, I think, the collaboration that we need externally. And really, it's a question of, please get with your account teams, please look to see how you can be strategic, include them in the conversation. For Jeff and for Wayne, I'm Tom Hanley. Thank you very much.
Thanks.